Good morning. I'm Jerry. Just here sharing stuff about the Bible with you every day. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it motivates you to want to go and read it for yourself. That's my whole goal. So, why should we trust the Bible? Why is it legitimate? Where does it come from? Some good questions. So the Bible is divided into two different testaments, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament could be referred to as the Hebrew Bible. It's the Bible of the Jews. All right, that's where all this started. So let's talk about the Old Testament first. So it's the Hebrew Bible. Its origins. The Old Testament was written over roughly 1,000 years, about 1400 to 400 BC, primarily by Jewish prophets, priests, and kings such as Moses, David, Isaiah, and others. The languages that they were recorded on: Hebrew, the main language of most of the Old Testament, and Aramaic, used in a few sections, parts of Daniel and Ezra. How was it transmitted? Jewish scribes, particularly the Masoretics, I can't pronounce that word well, Masoretes, 6th to 10th century AD, carefully preserved and copied the text with extreme precision. I've studied that aspect, and it's amazing the lengths that they went to. So how do we know that it's accurate? The importance of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1947. They'd been stored in these caves and pots, and they date to 200 BC to 100 AD. And they confirm that the Hebrew scriptures that we have today are virtually identical to ancient manuscripts from over 2,000 years ago. Imagine that the painstaking detail that they had to focus on and the attention to detail. Content. The Old Testament tells the story of God's covenant with Israel from creation, law, prophecy, and poetry to the promise of a coming Messiah. The New Testament. Its origins. Written between AD 45 and 100 by Jesus' apostles and early followers, such as Matthew, John, Paul, Peter, Luke, and so on. It records the life, teachings, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the early church's formation, and the apostolic letters written by the apostles. Those are the books, like Book of John or something like that. Anyways, so the language, and this is interesting. The language, Koine, Koine, the Koine Greek. So Greek was the common language internationally of the Romans world at that time. And they were the ones, if you recall, they were the ones who had conquered Jerusalem and was doing the oppression and so forth. A few early phrases or sayings of Jesus may have originated in Aramaic, his spoken language. How did they transmit it? There's over 5,800 Greek manuscripts and 20,000 plus ancient translations, Latin, Coptic, Syriac, survive. Far more than any other ancient document. The consistency among these thousands of copies are 99% textual agreement, give high confidence that today's New Testament reflects the original writings. All right, so how are the books chosen? In other words, what manuscripts were chosen? They were canonized, which means that the church leaders came together and they agreed. Old Testament, recognized by Jewish communities long before Christ, confirmed by Jesus himself in Luke 24:44. And I'll read that for you. These are the words, this is Jesus, and he said unto them, these are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled which were written in the law of Moses and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning me. So Jesus verified the legitimacy of the Old Testament that way. The New Testament, early church leaders, the 1st through 4th centuries, affirmed books already recognized by the apostles and used in worship. Those with apostolic authority, doctrinal consistency, and widespread acceptance. There were councils that came together. The Council at Hippo and the Council at Carthage formally confirmed the canon we have today. Why can we trust the Bible? There's historical reliability. Archaeology, ancient manuscripts, and external records consistently support the biblical events and the people. Do you realize every society has had a flood story? Chew on that for a while. Prophecy fulfillment. Hundreds of Old Testament prophecies, especially about the Messiah, were fulfilled in Jesus Christ. Internal consistency. There's 66 books written by approximately 40 authors over 1,500-year time span, yet unified in the message, God's plan of redemption. Transformative power. Its impact on individuals and civilizations testify to its divine inspiration. Jesus' endorsement. Christ himself affirmed the authority of the Hebrew Scriptures and promised the Spirit would guide his apostles into all truth. So that's where our Bible comes from. I hope you've enjoyed this and know that I love you. Have a great day.